Last year, 319,000 people moved to Florida, with 38% of those people moving there to retire. According to a Census Bureau report, this was the fastest growing state in 2022. And what's not to love about Florida? I just visited Destin without the kids. We went to a beach wedding on a Tuesday night. I mean, where else can you do that on a Tuesday night? The bright blue ocean, the white sandy beaches truly makes this the front runner for any retiree. Now, Arizona, on the other hand, 94,000 people moved to the state in 2022, 34% moved to retire. Now, when we take these numbers, we find that around 34,000 retirees moved to Arizona. I know I'm off there slightly. And a whopping 121,000 retirees moved to Florida. But what I discovered about Florida by talking to local real estate experts, visiting new build communities while I was there, and talking to real homeowners will shock you. The costs in Florida are skyrocketing. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna compare the two retirement areas, give you sort of a cost comparison, and at least tell you about what's going on in Florida, so that way you can make an educated decision on what's best for you, what's best for your spouse, and even your children. And also, guys, I want you to avoid the pitfalls of homeownership that can prove to be costly. Because after all, you want to leave your family in the best financial position possible, while of course still enjoying all those fruits of retirement, right? So if that sounds good to you, give me a thumbs up. And remember, guys, if you need any help moving to the great state of Arizona, you know, whether you're looking to retire or relocate your family, I'm a realtor serving the entire valley, and I'm here for you when you're ready. And make sure you stick around to the end to find out how you can get free lodging while you take a few days to shop for your dream home, or just skip to the end. Now, it's no secret that we've seen in Florida and Arizona many people overpaying for homes from pretty much 2020, right after COVID, even into 2022. So you really need to be realistic about the costs associated with homeownership. Now, in 2023, it seems like they are still going up as of late, and many homeowners are getting killed, especially in Florida, by costs they didn't expect. Now, please be advised, the forthcoming information, you may not receive it well, but I'm going to present 5 worrying financial concerns associated with your move to Florida that you won't find in Arizona, and these are really important to grasp before you make your final choice about which retirement destination you choose. Now, for some, these financial burdens may not be a big deal. Maybe you have a ton of money. But for others, it can wipe you out after only 1 year. Now, first and foremost, when you think of Florida, you can't help but think of all the hurricanes that wreak havoc every single year, with the most recent being Hurricane Ian, which happened last October of 2022. Now, these hurricanes are highly publicized because of their destruction, but did you know last year's hurricane season ended with 14 named tropical storms in Florida? Of these 14, 8 of those hurricanes, with 3 of them being considered major devastating hurricanes. Now, Hurricane Ian cost $112 billion in damage, like I said, while the other big two were Fiona and Nicole. They costed a lot less. Those were at $1.3 billion combined. This may not be what you want to hear. Maybe you're more of a glass half full type of person, but it's really happening, and it's getting worse. Now, it's not even the number of tropical storms that's increasing, but it's the strength at which they're increasing. There are more and more Category 4 and Category 5 hurricanes than ever before. Obviously, this increases the likelihood that you're gonna face some really dangerous conditions in your lifetime if you live in the state of Florida. And this does not apply anymore to just the coastline of Florida. It applies to all of Florida. And this leads us to our next cost in Florida that you're not going to find in Arizona, and that's mandated flood insurance that the Florida state legislature has now required all homeowners to obtain. Now, this doesn't matter if you're on top of a hill that's not in a floodplain or if you're next to the ocean. Now, you heard that right. This is pretty much because Hurricane Ian cost $112 billion, like I said for the 3rd time, worth of catastrophic damage. And this happened even in parts of Florida where just about no one has flood insurance. This is also due to the way FEMA has changed the way it calculates these flood insurance prices after Ian. Now, the worst hit zip code is going to have a 342% premium increase. This will mean that the average premiums will rise north of about $7,000 per year. Now, Congress has capped these price hikes to 18% per year for those that are already living in Florida. So they're not going to see these premiums right away, but they will go up year after year after year. And if you're purchasing new, guess what? Price jumps will hit you all at once. Now, think about this. You've been making these insurance premium payments for years, right? This is the scenario that's going to happen. When you encounter a severe tropical storm and you need them the most, you're still going to be dealing with this 8 months to 2 years later. So don't think that you're just covered and they're going to hand over a check like you see in the commercials. That's not how it happens. Another thing to keep in mind is that many of these insurance companies have either pulled out of Florida completely or they've gone bankrupt. Now, several factors are causing this to happen, not only Hurricane Ian, but it's created the perfect storm in Florida. You have soaring litigation costs. Florida's on pace to have more than 130,000 property policy suits filed this year, and that's 79% of the total lawsuits in the country. Once again, insurers are pulling out. 14 either pulled out or gone bankrupt. Now, you can expect a pretty massive fight with your insurance company with all of this pending litigation, even to squeeze out the lowest costs. And then if you do get anything, you're probably gonna have some money that you're gonna have to cough up to pay for the actual costs of rebuilding the home. So after you've gone through this battle, do you think the premiums are gonna increase? I would say yes. You think the price of your home's gonna go up or down? I can't really tell you that. But keep in mind, when you go to get flood insurance, which is now mandated, it's not included in your regular insurance. Now in Arizona, currently we do have a forest fire going on in Rio Verde, a little bit north, but usually you won't see any fire damage, you won't see any monsoon damage, not to the extent of tropical storms. And because of this, flood insurance is obviously not a requirement. And homeowners insurance you can get anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 per year. Now this is 16% lower than the national average. So because of Florida's catastrophic tropical storms, you're gonna see premiums go up and up and up in the near future, especially as more insurance companies pull out and costs go up. So this leads us to our third thing. After flood insurance, obviously homeowners insurance. Do you even need homeowners insurance? Well, you'll be required to get homeowners insurance if you have a loan on the property. Now this insurance requirement states that you need the minimum to rebuild the home and replace the contents which are in your home. Many retirees, however, pay cash for their homes, so they're not required to get homeowners insurance. So what I've seen in the past is that you have these cash buyers which are taking on the added risk of their home being completely destroyed. And what do you do after that? You're gonna need to stay somewhere. So you're paying to stay in a hotel or a motel. Then, if you can't rebuild the current home, you're gonna have to pay for demolition and removal of the home's belongings, which are your belongings, right? Or they were. You can see it makes more sense in Arizona to purchase a home cash and maybe not run the risk of insuring it if that's really what you want to do. Now, I would never advise that, but for those of you saying it can't catch fire, you're right. But in the valley, this would have to be typically due to negligence, as we don't have many forest fires besides the one going on right now, I know, but this isn't really affecting homes. One person I talked to said that her homeowner's insurance was going up 27%. She had 0 claims, and hurricane didn't even damage her home. Another person I was speaking to in Florida said their premiums went from $3,500 per year up to $9,500 per year. So this stuff's really happening. So what happens after a hurricane? You can't just ignore the damage that's happened to your home while you're in the process of dealing with everything like life, maybe getting a hotel, maybe taking care of your neighbors, helping your kids, figuring out what to do next. You really have to take action on your home. You have to protect the interior of your home from further damage. So once your roof gets a hole in it, it's probably gonna rain in what, 7 days or something at least? So you're gonna have to protect the interior of your home. You're gonna have to put on tarps. You're gonna have to patch the home. And this stuff will help, but you have, once again, hot and humid temperatures there, which are going to make interior mold a really significant issue. You're going to have other structural issues. So if you don't make those temporary repairs until a contractor can come to your home and fix everything, guess what? These insurance companies can deny your claim. Yeah, that's right. Without doing these repairs, an insurance company has reason to deny your claim, and this can be an absolute nightmare to deal with. Finding a company to repair your roof will be a real chore, and most companies are too busy to call you back because they're dealing with everybody else. And if you do find another company, they're gonna charge you twice, maybe 3 times the cost. Because why? Supply and demand, right? They have too much work, so they got to raise their fees. Now, finally, we have HOA fees in condo complexes and HOA fees in general. Many retirees choose to purchase a condo in Florida, and what better way of having outside management just take care of all of your property? Well, people in Florida are seeing their fees double or triple. So if inflation has gone up 11%, why are they seeing it go up double, triple? If you have HOA fees in Florida, Arizona, let me know what those fees are below. I'd love to see. But the reason we are seeing HOA fees climb so high in Florida is because, once again, we have that perfect storm. We have insurance companies pulling out. We have building costs which are going up. We have condo prices increasing. Replacement costs are increasing. Even the cost to maintain all of these units, everything is going up. Now, there's even legislation being enacted which is going to increase these fees too. Now, one crazy thing in Florida, which you may not know, is that these condos, these high-rise condos, a lot of them don't have much in terms of reserves. Now, reserves are money saved by the HOA for future use, whether it's installing new windows, putting on a new roof, or redoing the pools, or maybe fixing the structure of the property. At the end of 2024, condo HOAs will need to have fully funded reserves, which means that if they don't have a certain dollar amount, the homeowners are going to get stuck with the bill. Now, this is a huge problem in Florida. You're probably asking, how did this happen in Florida? Why is this going on? Well, long-term repair and replacement is inevitable for all condominiums. We all know that eventually you're going to have to repair things. One would think that every association would conduct sort of a reserve study, regularly set aside money. But in Florida, this has not been the case. Until recently, Florida law didn't require condominiums to conduct these reserve studies. And despite annual budgets being obligated to include these reserves for, things like capital expenditures, deferred maintenance, associations previously were allowed to waive or reduce reserve contributions through a membership vote. Isn't that crazy? The owners of these units often exercise this silly option to keep the assessments as low as possible, or to avoid paying for major components which are scheduled to be repaired or replaced. They thought that this would be needed after the sale of their units. So continuing with this example, if they were to sell their units in less than 10 years, they're not going to directly benefit from things like a new roof or new ACs or new structural plans, added concrete, whatever it might be. So they may vote to reduce or just entirely waive this. And by doing this, all they did was kick the can down the road for someone else to pay this financial burden of the new roof or, the new AC that's going to be needed. And this is why so many high-rise condominium complexes are severely underfunded. And it can be small complexes, it can be large complexes. Now, the solution was this new Senate bill, which was enacted in May of 2022. And this was, if you guys remember the Surfside condo complex, the condo that collapsed there, basically it was in response to that to address the foregoing problems. And what it does is it amends the Florida Condominium Act in 2 different ways. And this is, in respect to the condominium reserves that they have on hand so they can actually fix these units. Now, it's a great thing. I mean, it's enacted to prevent another tragedy, but some of the newly identified building components are questionable at best. For example, no one doubts that a foundation is vital to a building's overall structure, but how do you look? A visual inspection is extremely difficult, practically impossible without tearing up the building. So some of these things are super hard to do. Now, one person I know had her HOA fees go from $150 to $350, and she's not even in a condo. This is just in a normal housing community. Her costs have risen so much, she decided to go and purchase a little tiny home and is gonna be traveling with her family. And another person I talked to said her HOA fees tripled. They went from $600 to $1,800 per month. Make sure you subscribe. I'm gonna tell you guys all about that story. Now, these are in the high-rise condos. So, man, if you guys are thinking of making a move to Florida, I would highly suggest you consider elsewhere due to all of these skyrocketing costs. Now, Arizona, I'm walking through it. It's beautiful. The end of June. It's a great alternative. Not only do we have reasonable costs, there are plenty of retirement communities for every budget. 55 plus, 200,000, over $1 million. You don't have to be in a 55 plus community. Whatever you want to do. Every month, I help people make the move to Arizona. So if you're looking for an alternative to Florida, you might want to reach out ASAP before prices go even higher, which they're predicted to do with our inventory shrinking. And for my clients making a move, we now have an Airbnb offer where you can stay when you're home shopping at no charge. So if that sounds good to you and you want to get in touch with me, all of my info is in the description below. I'd love to help you guys make the move.